I'm 32 years old. I've been married for 6 years. And if you asked my friends or my parents what kind of woman I chose, they would all say the same thing. She's perfect. Smart, beautiful, confident. And that was exactly what caught me. When we first met, she immediately stood out. Not with that fake smile women sometimes use to cover insecurity. No, she walked into a room as if she already knew. Half the men would look at her, and the other half would compare their wives to her. I fell in love quickly. Maybe too quickly. We had a whirlwind romance. Dinners, trips, laughing until sunrise. But deep inside, I felt something. This wasn't just a woman. She was a player. And the game had only just begun. At the wedding, everyone said we were the perfect couple. She smiled for the cameras so sincerely that even I believed it. But even then, I caught her glances, quick, sharp, the kind people use when checking. Who holds the power in this relationship? 6 years have passed since then. We bought a house. I built my own business. She also worked, but mostly on things hard to even call work. Events, projects that vanished as quickly as they appeared. I often heard from acquaintances, "You're lucky. She's so charismatic. She always knows what she wants." And every time I wanted to reply, "Are you sure you really want to know what it is she wants?" Because over the years, I learned she's a master manipulator. She could cry on command if she needed me to cave. She could make a scene in a restaurant if I so much as glanced at the waitress. She could whisper in my ear in a way that made me feel like the most important man in the world. And an hour later, coldly cut me down. "You're nothing without me." But here's what troubles me the most these days. I've started realizing I don't actually know who she is. Sometimes I think she loves me, genuinely, sincerely. Other times, I'm sure I'm just another step in her bigger game, where the stakes are far higher than I can imagine. And for months now, a single question has been haunting me. What if all this perfection is just a mask, and the real woman beside me is someone completely different? At first, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. She was still the same radiant woman my friends admired, the same confident wife who could light up a room with a laugh. But slowly, in the quiet corners of our life, I began noticing changes. Tiny, almost invisible shifts. It started with her schedule. She had always been social, but lately, her calendar was packed with networking events, collaborations, and strategy meetings. When I asked what exactly she was working on, she'd laugh. "You wouldn't understand. It's more about influence than money." Influence. That word echoed in my head. Then came the phone. She used to leave it lying around, screen up, even ask me to reply to her friends if she was busy. Now, it was always face down, always locked. If a notification appeared, she'd cover it with her hand before picking it up. Once, as a joke, I reached for her phone and said, "Let's see what you're hiding." She snatched it away so quickly it startled me. Her eyes flashed, sharp as glass. "Don't you ever touch my phone again." The room went silent. It wasn't the words that cut me. It was the way she said them. Cold. Absolute. Like I had crossed into territory where I no longer belonged. Other things followed. The way she dressed. Sharper, bolder, like she was auditioning for a part no one told me about. The way she laughed at texts, then locked the screen the moment I looked her way. The way she suddenly claimed to be too tired for our Friday night dinners, but somehow always had energy for her events. I told myself, don't overthink. She's ambitious, she's networking, it's all normal. But in the pit of my stomach, I knew something was wrong. One night, I woke up around 2 a.m. She wasn't in bed. I found her downstairs, sitting in the dark, phone glowing against her face. She was smiling. Not the smile I knew, not the one she gave me on our wedding day. This was different. It was the smile of someone savoring a secret. When she noticed me, she quickly locked the phone and said, "I couldn't sleep. Just scrolling." But her voice trembled, just slightly. I didn't press. I went back to bed. But I couldn't close my eyes. Because for the first time, I wondered, who exactly was she scrolling for at 2 a.m.? The next morning, she was back to her usual charming self. Making breakfast, chatting about the weather, laughing as if nothing had happened. And for a moment, I almost believed it. Almost. The tension grew quietly, like a storm building far on the horizon. She hadn't accused me of anything outright, but she didn't need to. She had a new way of looking at me. Sharp, calculating, as if she was testing how much she could get away with. One evening, I came home earlier than usual. Her car was in the driveway, The lights in the living room were on. But when I stepped inside, the house was empty. No shoes in the hallway. No bag on the counter. Just silence. I walked through the rooms, calling her name. Nothing. Then I noticed her phone, plugged in, charging on the kitchen counter. The screen lit up with a message. Last night was perfect. Same place tonight. My stomach dropped. I didn't recognize the number. No name saved. Before I could even think, the front door opened. She walked in, holding 2 shopping bags, smiling like nothing was wrong. She saw me standing in the kitchen. Her eyes flicked to the phone, just for a second. Then she laughed, light and effortless. "Why do you look like you've seen a ghost?" I opened my mouth, but the words caught in my throat. Should I confront her? Should I play along? She stepped closer, kissed me lightly on the cheek, set the bags down. "I bought something special for us." For us. That phrase twisted in my chest. Because I knew, whatever that message was, it wasn't about us. The next days felt like torture. I wanted to ask about the message, but I hesitated. If I accused her without proof, she'd flip it on me, like she always did. I could already hear her voice. "You're paranoid. You don't trust me. You're toxic." So I stayed silent. And silence was exactly what she wanted. She moved through the house with a kind of untouchable confidence, as if she knew I was questioning everything but too afraid to speak. Then came the accidental slips. She would mention places I didn't know she'd been, restaurants I'd never heard about. She'd say, "Oh, I had lunch there once," then quickly change the subject. Or she'd laugh at an inside joke in her texts, and when I asked what was funny, she'd wave her hand. "You wouldn't get it." Each time, my mind spiraled. Was she doing this on purpose? Was it a game to see how much I could take before I broke? One night, I tried again. "Is there something you're not telling me?" She tilted her head, smiled, not kindly, but like a cat watching a trapped mouse. "Why would you even ask me that?" Her voice was calm, too calm. And in that moment, I realized she wasn't just hiding something. She was enjoying this. Lying in bed that night, I kept asking myself, am I paranoid? Or is she slowly, deliberately unraveling me? And the terrifying part was, I wasn't sure of the answer anymore. She had this way of turning everything upside down. One minute, I'd be convinced she was lying. The next, she'd twist the story so tightly I'd start doubting my own memory. It started with small things. I'd mention she told me she was at a meeting yesterday. She'd laugh and say, "No, I told you I was at brunch with Sarah. Are you even listening to me anymore?" I knew she hadn't said Sarah, but her eyes, calm, unblinking, made me hesitate. Maybe I had misheard. Maybe I had imagined it. Then there were the receipts. I found one in the car, dinner for 2 at a restaurant across town. When I showed it to her, she snatched it from my hand. "That's from when I went out with my coworkers." Stop inventing stories. But I remembered her saying she had been working late at home that night. I opened my mouth to remind her, but she leaned in close, lowering her voice. "You're scaring me. The way you twist everything, it's not normal." Her words cut me deeper than the lie. Because in that moment, I felt guilty. I felt like I was the problem. The manipulation was everywhere. If I asked about her phone, "Why do you hide it all the time?" she'd sigh dramatically. "Because you've become obsessed. Every time it buzzes, you're staring at me like a detective." If I questioned her stories, "You told me you were with your sister." She'd roll her eyes. "Wow, now I can't even spend time with family without you interrogating me." And every single time, she found a way to make me feel small. The scariest part? Sometimes I caught myself apologizing. I'd stand there, holding evidence of her lies, and still say, "I'm sorry if I'm being difficult. I worry." And she would smile, that cold, triumphant smile, before leaning in to kiss me, like rewarding a dog for obeying. Lately, I've started writing things down. Times, places, what she says, because I can't trust my memory anymore. Last week, she told me she was at the gym at 6 p.m. But when I checked the app we both use for workouts, her last check-in was 2 weeks ago. When I brought it up, she didn't even blink. "Oh, the scanner must be broken. Don't get paranoid." Her tone was so confident, I almost believed her. Almost. And here's the worst part. I don't know if she's slipping, or if she wants me to notice the cracks. Maybe the lies aren't mistakes at all. Maybe she's leaving them there like breadcrumbs, just to watch me unravel. I used to think lies were meant to be hidden, that when someone cheats, they at least try to cover their tracks. But with her, I'm starting to believe the opposite. She leaves trails, evidence, and I can't decide if she's careless, or if she wants me to find them. One evening, She came home later than usual. I noticed her blouse, crisp white in the morning, had a faint red stain near the collar. Wine? Lipstick? What happened here? I asked, pointing. She looked down, then back at me, unbothered. Tomato sauce from lunch. You really should relax. It's sad how suspicious you've become. Her voice was so steady, so controlled, that for a second I almost believed her. Almost. Until I opened the dishwasher the next morning and found the plate she'd eaten off, spotless, with no trace of tomato anything. Another time, I checked our shared credit card statement. There it was, a charge for a hotel bar, late on a Tuesday night. When I asked her, she didn't flinch. Oh, that was with the team after an event. Nothing special. But I knew she'd told me she was at home with a headache that night. When I pressed, she turned it on me instantly. Are you tracking me now? Is that what our marriage has become? A surveillance project? I froze, because the way she said it, full of wounded pride, made me feel like the villain. But here's what keeps me up at night. Sometimes, the evidence is too obvious. A perfume receipt for a fragrance she's never worn with me. An earring I found under the car seat that isn't hers. A photo on her phone of a place she swore she'd never been. And every time I confront her, she has an answer ready. Not stammering, not scrambling, but calm, precise, confident. So confident that by the end of the argument, I'm the one questioning myself. The other night, I said to her, "Why do I feel like you're hiding something from me?" She looked me dead in the eyes, smiled faintly, and whispered, "Maybe you're just not strong enough for the truth." Then she turned over and went to sleep. And I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, wondering, was that a slip? Was she mocking me? Or was she daring me to finally uncover what she's been hiding all along? I promised myself I'd never be that guy. The jealous husband, the snoop, the one who checks phones and follows his wife around like some pathetic detective. But there's a point where suspicion becomes survival. And I was already past it. The first step was small. I checked the location tracker we'd once shared casually through our phones, just in case of emergencies. Hers was turned off. Not just for the day, for weeks. When I asked about it, she shrugged. Battery saver mode. You know how it drains. Her tone was so dismissive, so casual, I almost laughed. She hadn't even bothered with a good excuse. The second step came a few nights later. She said she was going to dinner with a friend from college. Something in her tone told me to follow. So I did. I parked a block away and watched from my car. She didn't meet a college friend. She walked into a sleek restaurant with dim lights and expensive wine bottles on display. She was alone for 5 minutes, until a man joined her. Tall, well-dressed, a stranger. She leaned in close, laughed at something he whispered, touched his hand like she'd done it 1,000 times. I felt my heart hammer in my chest. I wanted to storm in, demand answers, flip the table. But I stayed in the car, watching, because I needed more than rage. I needed certainty. Later that night, when she came home, she smelled faintly of perfume I didn't recognize. She dropped her purse on the counter, kissed me on the cheek, and sighed dramatically. You wouldn't believe the drama my friend's going through. Poor thing. She looked me straight in the eye as she lied. And the terrifying part? She smiled while doing it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I unlocked her tablet, the one she rarely used. Maybe she'd slipped, maybe something was synced. And there it was. A photo. Her, in the same dress she wore to dinner. Only this time, not in a restaurant. In a hotel lobby. The timestamp matched the night she told me she was at book club. I stared at the photo for an hour. Her smile wasn't the smile of a woman being seduced. It was sharper, crueler. The smile of someone who knows they're being watched and doesn't care. Maybe even wants to be caught. And that's when a thought entered my head, darker than anything before. What if all of this isn't just an affair? What if she's building something bigger? A game, a plan, where I'm just the final piece. I couldn't hold it in anymore. The hotel photo burned in my mind. Her lies weren't just piling up. They were becoming a tower about to collapse. That night, after dinner, I finally said it. Who is he? She looked up slowly, fork in hand, like I'd just interrupted her with a question about the weather. Who is who? The man you were with at the restaurant. The one from the hotel. Her face didn't flinch. Not even a twitch. She set her fork down carefully, folded her hands, and smiled. So you've been following me. Not denial. Not shock. Accusation. And suddenly I felt small, like a child caught sneaking cookies. Don't turn this on me, I snapped. You lied. I saw you with him. Her smile widened, almost amused. And what exactly did you see? Dinner? Talking? Do you realize how pathetic you sound right now? I gritted my teeth. I saw enough. She leaned back in her chair, studying me. You think you're uncovering some big secret, but all I see is a man who doesn't trust his wife. Do you know how unattractive that is? Her words hit like a blade. Because deep down, I didn't trust her anymore. And she was using that truth against me. I pulled out my phone, showed her the photo from the tablet. Her in the hotel lobby, timestamp clear. Her expression didn't change. She just laughed softly, shaking her head. Wow, you really went digging, didn't you? I almost admire the effort. Almost. Then she leaned forward, her eyes locked on mine. But let me ask you something. If you're this obsessed with catching me, maybe you're the one hiding something. Projection, isn't that what they call it? The room spun. How did she do this? How did I end up feeling like the guilty one when she was the one in that photo? I slammed my fist on the table. Stop twisting this. Just tell me the truth. She tilted her head, smirked, and whispered, maybe the truth isn't something you're ready for. Then she stood, picked up her wine glass, and walked upstairs, leaving me shaking in silence. That night, lying in bed next to her, I realized something chilling. She wasn't just lying. She was controlling the game. And every move I made only tightened her grip. I realized something after that night. Direct confrontation was useless. She thrived on it. Every time I pressed, she twisted, flipped, and walked away stronger, leaving me weaker. So I decided to change tactics. If she wanted a game, I'd play too. I started small, pretending not to notice when she slipped up, smiling when she came home late, as if I believed her traffic jam excuse. Even nodding along when she laughed at her phone and said it was just a meme. And for the first time in months, she relaxed. She thought I'd given up, but I was watching closer than ever. One night, while she showered, I checked her purse. Inside, tucked in a side pocket, was a hotel room keycard. No name, just the number, 708. I slipped it back, my hands shaking. The next day, I drove to the hotel. My heart pounded as I walked through the lobby, rehearsing a dozen lies in case someone asked why I was there. I took the elevator up to the 7th floor. Room 708. I didn't knock. I didn't even try the door. I just stood there, staring at the number, imagining what, or who, was behind it. Then I noticed something taped to the doorframe. A folded receipt. I pulled it out with trembling fingers. It was for champagne, charged to room 708, 2 nights ago. 2 glasses. That evening, when she came home, she was humming. She kissed me on the cheek, poured herself a drink, and asked how my day was. Her eyes sparkled, that same cruel sparkle I'd seen before. And I thought, does she know that I know? Is she daring me to react? Later, I tried a different approach. I asked about her friend, casually, like it didn't bother me. So, how's your old college friend? She froze, just for half a second. Then she laughed. Fine. Why do you care all of a sudden? But I saw it. That flicker in her eyes, a flash of calculation, like a poker player caught off guard. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. She wasn't just lying to cover her tracks. She was testing me. Every late night, every contradiction, every breadcrumb. It wasn't carelessness. It was deliberate. She wanted me to question, to spiral, to lose myself trying to catch her. Because while I was chasing shadows, she was always 3 steps ahead. And as I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling while she slept peacefully beside me, one thought echoed in my mind. Maybe this isn't about another man at all. Maybe the affair is just the bait, and the real game is something much bigger. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. She wasn't careless. She wasn't sloppy. She wanted me to find the traces. The lipstick smudge, the wine stain, the hotel keycard, the mysterious texts, they weren't accidents. They were breadcrumbs. And like a fool, I had followed every single one. But why? What did she gain from it? The spiral. For days, I walked around in a haze. At work, my brothers noticed I was distracted. You okay? One asked. I nodded, lied. Just tired. But inside, I was unraveling. I replayed every conversation, every smile, every fight. It wasn't just infidelity anymore. It was theater. And I was the audience, or maybe the punchline. I began to wonder if she even cared about the other man, or if he, too, was just a piece on her board. The patterns. I started writing things down in a notebook, a secret diary of her movements. Monday, she said she was at yoga. but her shoes were spotless. Wednesday, book club, but no book in her bag. Friday, late at work, yet she came home smelling like a stranger's cologne. I filled pages with contradictions. And the more I wrote, the more I saw a pattern. Every excuse, every alibi, it always landed on me. Somehow, I was the paranoid husband. I was the untrustworthy one. I was the problem. And maybe that was her goal all along. To make me question not just her, but myself. The breakthrough. The real crack came one night when she left her laptop open. She was upstairs showering. I told myself I wouldn't snoop, but my hands moved before my brain could stop them. Her email was open. At the top, a draft unsent. It wasn't to Ivan. It wasn't even to another man. It was to herself. A diary, of sorts. Only not about her life, about mine. Line after line describing me. My habits, my weaknesses, the way I looked when I was angry, the way I hesitated when she accused me. He doubts himself more each day. I can push further. Tonight I'll mention Sarah again. See if he notices the inconsistency. He's close to breaking. Almost ready. My blood ran cold. The realization. It wasn't just cheating. It wasn't just gaslighting. She was documenting me. Studying me. Why? For control? For fun? Or something worse? When she came downstairs, towel wrapped around her, she smiled as if nothing was wrong. But I couldn't look at her the same way. Because now I knew. Every fight, every slip, every tear, none of it was accidental. She wasn't reacting to me. She was engineering me. The question. That night, lying awake beside her, one thought refused to leave me. If she's writing about how close I am to breaking, then what happens when I finally do? For weeks, I carried the weight of that discovery. Her diary, the notes about me, my reactions, my breaking point. Every time I looked at her, I felt like a rat in a maze, running through traps she had laid long before. And the question haunted me. What happens when I finally break? The push. She started escalating. Little things that cut deeper than usual. Calling me by the wrong name and laughing it off. Forgetting anniversaries, then mocking me for remembering. Sending herself flowers and pretending they were from a client. At first, I thought it was about control. Power. But one night, after another carefully staged argument, she leaned close to me, her voice low and deliberate. You know, sometimes I wonder how far I could push you before you'd actually snap. She didn't say it as a question. She said it like a scientist observing an experiment. The discovery. The final piece came by accident. I was digging through the garage, looking for some old files, when I found a locked box. Her initials on the top. I shouldn't have opened it. But of course I did. Inside were folders. Not love letters, not hotel receipts. Reports. Printed emails. Notes. All about me. My business accounts. My family connections. Even my medical records. And at the bottom, a file labeled Exit Strategy. Inside, financial plans, rerouting money through shell accounts. A timeline with dates. And worst of all, divorce papers already half prepared. The shock. It hit me like a truck. The affair? The lies? The manipulations? They weren't just betrayal for betrayal's sake. They were distractions. While I was chasing shadows, she was building a case. Destroying me slowly, preparing to walk away, with everything. The diary I'd found wasn't just sadistic fun. It was evidence. Notes to use against me in court. Proof that I was unstable, paranoid, controlling. She wasn't gaslighting me for thrills. She was laying the groundwork to erase me. The confrontation. That night, I didn't say a word. I sat across from her at dinner, watching her laugh, sip her wine, talk about her projects. Every word she spoke was a lie. Every smile was a mask. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity. She thought she had won. But now, finally, I could see the whole board. The endgame. When she went upstairs, I stayed at the table. I opened my notebook, the one where I had logged every inconsistency, every receipt, every alibi. Page after page of her own traps, flipped back onto her. For months, she had been studying me. But without realizing, I had been studying her too. If she wanted a war of manipulation, then I would give her one. And for the first time, I wasn't the rat in the maze anymore. I was the one building the walls. The closing thought. As I lay down beside her that night, listening to her steady breathing, I thought, she doesn't know it yet, but the game is no longer hers. And when the time comes, I won't just walk away. I'll make sure she's the one left questioning everything. Because if she built an experiment out of my life, then I'll be the one to finish it.